Okay, Venonat. Do flamethrower. Alright, do dragon rage. Fly, cut, slash. Hello, YouTube. It's me, Big King Badger. I'm just trying to get my Venonat here to do any kind of move, but maybe I just don't have the gym badges for it. But you just have to keep trying. So, maybe I should take it to a ranch. Not a Pokemon ranch. Oh no. For today's game that I want to talk about is one that I'm going to aim more towards people in Europe, and it is Monster Rancher. I absolutely love this game, as I love all the games that I show you here. But Monster Rancher is one which is very close to my heart. Now, why the heavens, not Dickens this time, why the heavens are you saying, well, why is this for people in Europe? Well, I think pretty much that's because there have been a lot of Monster Rancher games available in America and in Japan. They started on the PS1, and then we've rushed and whizzed all the way from the DS up to the PS2. But for us here in Europe, this is all we got. This one. But is it any good? Yes, of course it is. Of course. Why would Big King Badger ever lie to you? I'm never going to do that. Ever. No, I wouldn't. That'd just be rude. So, Monster Rancher. Why is it so good? It's a really cool, funky monster breeding, raising and fighting game, but with one really, really cool feature that no other game that I can think of would have for a video game, which is how do you get the monsters? Well, every single CD that you own contains a monster. In the game itself, it says that you get monsters from special mystical discs. But to you and me, what that means is when you're playing the game and you go to the temple to get a new monster, what you would do is you would go to the temple and then you would take the game out, take the game disc out while it's still playing. I know, I don't like it, but that's what you do. You take the game disc out and then you put in any any kind of CD that you want. The game data will then read the CD. It will then give you a monster, and it will then assign it a certain class and its stats. So that is pretty much absolutely mind-blowing to me when I first got this game. I would literally go and rush around my house, find every single disc and CD that I could possibly find, and then I would put it in, find out which monster it would get, and then write down what monster it was and what breed it was as well. So as you can see here, there are a couple of different breeds on there. We've got the eyeball guys and a few of the others. I'm sorry, the names do escape me. It has been many a moon since I have played this game. But as you can see, so let's take the eyeball guy here. There we go. Touch his mouth. Stroke it. What you would do is you get the eyeball guy, but then his like his subspecies, the actual game model might be in metal. It might be a metallic one, or it could be a rock one, or it might be red, or it might be the yellow one that's here, and that would dictate as well kind of what you get and what kind of stats and abilities it has. It is absolutely really, really cool. So what you would do is you would then get your monster, you go back to your ranch, and then you feed it and train it. The game has a time mechanic in there as well, so when you train, that takes up a morning, say, and then you've got an afternoon to do something, whether it be rest or anything like that. Now in the game you have a calendar, and what would happen is you would see at the end of the month, say, that there is a tournament, and it's completely up to you if you want to take part in the tournaments or not. And or every now and then random things might occur, like some random person might pop up like an adventurer and ask if they can take your monster out on an adventure with them, which is really cool and exciting, because that way you can get different items and abilities and things like that. We'll come back to the items in a little while, But the adventures are really cool as well, where you go off and explore with your monster. What you would do is you would control the monster, because the game itself is almost like a first-person type of shenanigan, where you just see the monster in your ranch and things like that, and people around you. Now, what would happen is, as I said, there is a time mechanic in there, so you can take part in tournaments and strengthen and level up your your monster's rank. So what would happen is, as you go through the tournaments, if you win and succeed, which when I was playing it were very, very tricky to do, I'd get up to a certain class, because they go from A, B, C, things like that, and there's even an S rank, which is the hardest rank. They would rank up. Now, the one thing that I have to say is that time, which is in the game, is not kind to us. Why is it not kind to us? Well, it's simple. Because your monsters can rank up. They can be absolutely epic badasses and things like that. And then they can die. And it is really, really heartbreaking. If you've ever played things like XCOM, which is a totally different type of game, but in that game, you will have your characters and things like that, and they can die, and it can be absolutely heartbreaking. It's the same in this. You can be going on adventures with your monsters. You could go to tournaments, be fighting, be absolutely cool. It's like the most amazing monster ever. And then you get the heartbreaking moment that your monster has died. And it is really, really sad and heartbreaking. But what you can do is you can freeze your monster, which is pretty cool. What would happen is you can freeze it in the essentially the monster bank, as it were, and get all different monsters and things like that. And then what you can do is you can fuse monsters together. Now, I'm not going to say it's like Digimon or anything like that, Digifusion. But what you can do is you can fuse monsters. So say if you've got two monsters and you end up with skills and abilities from both of the monsters combined, which is another cool feature. And this is where items can come into it. So there are a lot of different items that you can get, whether they boost your stats, or they could just be jelly that you can feed your monster, because they all like different foods and things like that. Sometimes they can be naughty. But yeah, what you can do as well, there are other, like I say, items that you can get, which when you fuse two monsters will give you either a specific ability, it might give you a certain skin or anything like that. The one which really does come to mind for me is when you are on an adventure in a volcano area. If you manage to succeed and get to the center of the volcano, you find there living is a phoenix, and you can get a phoenix feather, which can imbue fire abilities and things like that onto your monster. Absolutely love it. Only one available in the Europes. There is as well, which came out a little bit later on, a cartoon. Now, for me, the cartoons, I absolutely hated the cartoon. Have a look, see if it's available here on YouTube. But Big King Badger does not recommend the animated series. It's got some weird thing about some kid going through a portal into the Monster Rancher dimension, and then one of the monsters from Monster Rancher, one of the really high-ranking ones, which is Moo. Yes, that's right, Moo. Say it with me, people. Moo. Yes, it is a cow. Is the emperor of all of Monster Rancher world, and you kind of got to stop him or something. Nah, just stick to the games. That's all I'd recommend. Stick to the games. Monster Rancher. Throw your music CDs in there. See which monsters you get. And because it's made by the guys, if you see here, who make... these guys make Dead or Alive. Are you ready for this? So you, as well as music CDs, you can also put PS1 games in there, because they are CDs. If you say put in... I'm stroking the developers there. There we go. If you put in a game from their line, you might get a very specific monster. One that springs to mind, I don't think it's in this one, but it might be in the American Monster Rancher 2, is if you put Dead or Alive in there, you get I believe it's an outfit for this guy to make it look like one of the Dead or Alive fighters, which is pretty cool. So I would absolutely recommend it, especially if you like Pokemon and things like that. It's an absolutely really cool, funky game. What I would say as well is, if we can slide, are you ready? We've literally slid. That was silky smooth. What I would say is, one of the other ones which you could try out would be, if I can find it, there's anticipation here. I found it. I'm touching it. It's right there. One of the ones which I did import because I did love Monster Rancher so much is ta-da! Monster Rancher on DS. It's a weird one. It's got all the different things that Monster Rancher had where you can breed monsters and things like that. But obviously, CDs, what happens? What do we do? You put words in. And to say I absolutely loved the game on PS1, I didn't particularly love this one as much. I think because of the words, it spoiled and ruined some of the special magic that number 1 had. But it's there if you want to import that one as well. There are other ones available on PS2 and things like that, but I don't know. It's up to you guys. I best get back to training this guy. Venonat, use Surf.